Okay, so since it's a short Friday, I guess we'll skip the Musa. Yeah, Mazel Tov. I see Harold's on. Mazel Tov to Harold on the shidduch. Let's go to the gate.
For my wife.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Okay, Refuah Shalem. What's her name?
Chaya Bela Masha Bas Zissel.
Chaya Bela Masha Bas
Zissel.
Yeah. Okay, for Refuah Shalem.
Mouthful.
And we get in Naftali Liner's father.
Yeah, I got
to
get another.
Still the yard side.
Yeah,
the yard
another
side.
lick.
Candle still going?
You got to get that candle's going, Naftali, man.
I'll check. The candle, I think, is still going.
He's checking. He's checking the candle.
Dagger, he's actually going to check the candle. You understand what he did here?
The candle went out.
Who has time for Musa? Who has time for Musa?
Right.
The candle went out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Liner, that's another whole year of Kaddish you got to
He also has to buy an individual sponge cake for everybody who's on the Zoom now.
Yeah. All right, let's do the daf.
Yeah. Aaron, I brought the kichel that I forgot to, and the crackers to Parrot for his shul.
Great. Parrots' shul. Okay, Parrots' shul.
What does it have to do with us?
Parrots' shul is closed this weekend.
I know, but that's why I brought it this morning.
Yeah. Okay.
We're like 4 lines down.
Right. Ashkoyach again for the Siyam, all those Avi and Aaron, Parrots, and all the work. Yeah. And Jesse for the cake. Or Jesse's daughter. Okay, so we're talking about the sugi we're talking about is we just got finished with. Well, actually, we're in the middle. We're trying to figure out what the order of mishnayos are. Meaning, when the mishnah starts with one subject, like in our case, it tells you all the different types of terminology of Nedarim. Then it goes to another subject to explain the types of Nedarim that are partial Nedarim, which is yados, meaning the hands of Nedarim, which is like the handle, meaning you can make a neder that's not, meaning a regular neder would be like the utensil. You make a regular neder, that would be using all the proper terminology, so then it's a utensil. If you use a half neder, so then using the improper terminology, that means you're just holding on to the neder like by the handle, which is also considered a neder, but the Mishnah needed to teach that. So the Mishnah said A, then B, then it described B, and then it goes back to A. So we said yesterday that sometimes Mishnayos do it that way, and sometimes Mishnayos do A, B, meaning again, they'll say case A, then it'll say case B, then it'll go back to case A, and then explain case B. And sometimes the Mishnah will say case A, then case B, then explain case B, and then A. Right, so that's what we're saying. So that's one. That's one teretz that it's sometimes the Mishnah does it, sometimes the Mishnah doesn't do it. The second teretz is Viba is saying third line down. Viba is saying yadas. When it says yadas, which again a yad is a person who makes a neder not using the full terminology. So I did the Asian midrasha, since, and we have this concept a few times in Shas, that yadas we learn out from a drasha. It's not beferish in the Torah. The pasuk of making a neder and kinuyim, that says straight out in the Torah. But the din of that, if you make a partial neder, that's considered a neder. That we learn out from a drasha. So a drasha, we always like drashas more because the same reason why a guy gets up and speaks for a half hour by a sheva brachas, right? And he's not interested. And then a minute later, he complains about the guy who speaks a half hour after him. How did that guy speak so long? Yeah, what happened to you? Because your drasha, you like to hear first, right? So the same thing here. The Gemara, the Mishnah wants to explain the drasha first, and then it goes. So I did asking drasha mefarish line bereisha. So that's why it said it first. Okay, so the Mishnah says v'liftach hadin bereisha. So if that's the case, if you're so happy with yadas, again, which is the partial neder, so why don't you teach that din first? Why do you teach the din of the Torah, of regular neder, then you teach the partial neder, then you explain the partial neder because you liked it, so then why don't you mention it first too? right? So the Gemara says, no, miftach pasach b'kinuyin. The Mishnah started with the nicknames daraisa bereisha because that's an issa daraisa, right? So you have to say the major daraisa, the major part that's in the Torah. The major part of the daraisa, meaning the major part of it is the daraisa. Teach that first. And then it goes to explain the yadas. So the Gemara asks, now this gets a little technical, this Gemara. So that's good according to the opinion we're going to have later on, the next Mishnah, that who made up the kinuyin? Who decided, right? Who decided what's considered a nickname for a neder? Meaning we know that you make a neder, you say, I'm making a neder. So that's obviously a neder. You can say, making, what were the terminologies? Let's say a chayrim, right? Or something like that. Okay, so that's also neder. Who made up what's a neder, who's not, right? Maybe saying, I hate this person is also a neder, which means that you're not going to benefit from him, right? We said the standard thing is I'm making a neder, I'm not benefiting from this guy. Okay. That's a neder. But maybe if I say I hate him, that's also making a neder. Right? But we don't know. So who made up what's considered neder, who's not? So if you go according to Madama that says kinuyin is lashon nachrim, now nachrim here doesn't mean a guy. Right? It means it's a lashon, any strange lashon or different lashonas. So then it makes sense. But if you say that it's the what the Chachamim chose to say is considered kinuyin, Ma'ikl, then what are you going to say? Meaning that's also a derabbanan. Meaning kinuyin, it's very nice that kinuyin we're saying is from the Torah, that use any sort of other lashon of a neder is also from the Torah. That's all very nice, but who's the one that decided it? So the Chachamim decided it, so it should have the same like chashivos. It should go first. So Gemara answers, Mikatani Yadis. We didn't even learn Yadis in the Mishnah. This is going back to yesterday's Gemara. We didn't say anything about Yadis in the Mishnah. Wasn't it missing from the Mishnah? Right? We said that there was something missing from the Mishnah, and that was Yadis. So Aktam Nami Batani Yadis. So therefore, you could also say that you're going to say Yadis first. Meaning once you're fixing the Mishnah, that the Mishnah is not the way it's written, and there was stuff missing from it. So we're going to say that there's other things missing from the Mishnah too. How are you going to say it? Kol Yadas Nedarim Kinedarim. All hands or handles of Nedarim are like Nedarim, which again means a part, using part of the proper terminology. V'chol Kinuya Nedarim Kinedarim, and all nicknames of Nedarim are Nedarim. Ve'elu hen Yadas, ve'elu yen Yadas, and what is considered Yadas? Ha'amr l'chaveiroi, somebody tells his friend, and then etc., etc. And ve'elu hen kinuyin, or what are kinuyin? Kainam, kaineach, and kindness, right? Which we haven't gotten to that part of the Mishnah yet. But those are lashonas. Those are different lashonas of Nedarim. Okay, so now that's it. So that's okay. Now we got the accounting done with of why the Mishnah went in the order that it did. Fine. Now the Gemara says v'yadas heichik sid. So where does it say in the Torah that if somebody says a half of the proper terminology of making a neder, that's still considered a neder? Where does it say? How do we know that from the Torah? So one answers, it says, Ish ki yafli neder nazir lahazir lashem. If a man makes a neder and he makes himself a nazir. So you see in the pasuk is referring to a nazir, and again, a nazir, somebody who says he's not eating meat, he's not drinking wine, he's not becoming tameh for 30 days. Right? So why does the Torah use a lashon of neder in the same pasuk of nazir? Right? So what does it teach us? That it's in the same pasuk. Tanya nazir lahazir. When it says the extra, again, I'm sorry. There's a few things in this pasuk. It says a double lashon. It says a double lashon twice. It says nindar neder nazir lahazir lashem. Right? It's a lot of extra things there. First, why is it putting neder together with nazir, and why is it a double terminology? Okay, so the Brisa says, "V'tanya nazir lahazir." Why does it say a double terminology? Last is kinuyin nizirus kinazirus, to tell us that a nickname for a nazir is also a nazir, which we'll see later what that could be. V'yadas nizirus kinazirus, and also if somebody says a partial, right, he takes the handle of nizirus, and that's also nizirus, meaning if he doesn't say the proper terminology to become a nazir, he only says part of it. So that only tells us that works for nazir. How do I know that somebody does the same by nedarim? That's going to be the same din. Right? If a person makes a neder and he makes the nazir lahazir Hashem, makish nizirus lenedarim. We compare anything from nizirus, we compare it to nedarim. Nedarim to nizirus, and we compare nedarim to nizirus. Right now, the Gemara goes through all the dinim. Ma nizirus by a nazir, also by yadus nizirus can nizirus. That if somebody uses the partial terminology of nazir, that will make him into a proper nazir. Af nedarim also b'em yadus nedarim can nedarim. So too nedarim would also have the same thing if he uses a partial terminology. Uma nedarim over b'bal yachil b'bal ta'acher, and like a neder, you're going to be over on bal yacher, meaning if a neder you don't keep the neder, so there's an isser that's called bal yachil. You made yourself into chulin. You made your mouth into chulin. If you don't keep your word, you're over on the isser of bal yachil ub'bal ta'acher, and you're also over on the isser of pushing things off, which we'll see later what those cases are. So af nizirus over bal yachil ub'bal ta'acher. So to buy a nazir can also be over on those two. Uman nedarim ha'av mefer nidrei bita. Just like by nedarim, the father can eliminate the nedarim of his daughter. Ubal mefer nidrei ishtai, and a husband can be made for the nedarim of his wife, which you're going to see later on in the Sefta, right? We had this also a few times in Ksubas, right? A husband, when the first day he hears his wife make a neder, he has the rights to just knock it out. And a father could do it for his daughter if she's not married. Af nizirus, ha'av made for nizirus bita. A father can make the daughter's nizirus go out. Ubal made for nizirus ishta, and can he make his daughter's nizirus go out? So you see from here, what do you call it? You see from here that the nedarim halachos are the same as the nazir, and the nazir halachos are the same as the nedarim, and included in that is that if you use the yadus, meaning again yadus is just a mushal. If you use the handle of a pot, which is again just using a partial terminology of nedarim, that's going to be considered a neder. So then the Gemara asks, nizirus to chsiv nazir lahazir. So why are you learning it out from nizirus? Because it says a double lashon. Nedarim nami chsiv lindar neder. Right, we're learning all these extra dinim out by nazir because it says nazir lahazir. So by neder it says lindar neder. Vakesha lamali. So then why do you need the comparison? You have a double terminology by neder also. So the one answers because of neder lindor. If it says a neder by making a neder, kidduchas of nazir lehazir, then kidduch amrit, and then you'd be right. Like tzarich akesha, then you wouldn't need the akesha. Hashta tichsiv lindor neder, but it doesn't say neder lindor. It says lindor neder. So we're going to say there's nothing to learn out from that, right? Right? There's nothing to learn out from that because it's in the wrong order. Whatever the diktuk is, I don't know what the diktuk is, why that changes things, but again, it's different. It's a different terminology. Yeah, fine. So Gemara asks, so that's all good according to the opinion that says that the Torah sometimes talks like people, and you can't learn things out. That by the way, will also kill a lot of people's vertelach, right? You know, people say, "Oh, this var. Why did the Torah say it this way? I say it that way, buddy. I got some cold water to put onto your fire." The Torah talks like people. There's nothing to learn out, right? It's not a popular opinion. This opinion, right? It will eliminate a lot of vertelach. Okay, but according to what the Gemara says, is like right? Elaman the less like which is the more popular opinion, right? The mandama that says that the Torah does not speak like people. Hi, Linda Neder, my Avidle. So then, why did the Torah say an extra word Neder? Yeah. So Darish lay, Darish. So the Gemara, that's a kasha. So Darish lay, lasas yadus nedarim kinedarim. It says that we're darshaning it to tell you that yadus nedarim are kinedarim. Umakish nizirus lenedarim, and then we also compare nizirus lenedarim. Right? So we say, yes, he is going to use it. He will. And Chanami, the one that says that the Torah doesn't speak like people, what like regular people speak, we'll darshan it out the way we were saying. So now, but now you have an extra word because you have hekish. You could compare nazir to neder. So now, what are you doing with the extra word of nazir lahazir? Right, meaning he's going backwards. Till now, we said, according to the first opinion, we said we know all the halachos from nazir, and we're comparing them all to neder. Right now, he's saying no, we know the halachos by neder, and we're comparing them to nazir. So then, okay, so what's the extra words? Nazir lahazir, darashlei. That we're going to darshan out. Melamed and teaches us on Talmud Beis now. Nizirus chal ala nizirus. Oh, an interesting din that nizirus could be chal on nizirus. Let's say a guy gets up in the morning and he says, "Hey, I'm going to be a nazir." Right? Okay, so now that kicks in. He has to keep 30 days nizirus. Then he goes to shul and he says, "Hey, I have a good idea." He's telling his friend, "I have a good idea. I had a good idea this morning. I'm going to be a nazir." Well, now he's got to do 60 days, not 30. Right? Because he made himself a nazir on top of a nazir. Yeah.
I don't understand what that means. You tell somebody I'm not eating meat anymore. You go home, you tell your wife, by the way, I said I'm not eating meat again. You have to continue with it.
Yeah, so yeah, basically. I don't know if it works exactly. I mean, if he says, by the way, you heard I made myself a nazir, then I agree with what you say. But let's say he says it in the morning, and then he says, I'm going to be a nazir, and he says it again. So then yes, that would make him make a double nazir. We're going to see, obviously, when we learn the nazir, which I hope I remember this Gemara. I have my doubts, right? But if as the Shem, it'll be a nazir. But that's what the Gemara is saying. What are you saying, Rabbi?
The Manda Amud that says Dibri Torah Lashon Bnei Adam. So we're supposed to know that the concepts in the Torah obviously are halachos, because those are Rabban Shalom's concepts, right? Well, it's Rabban Shalom. He wrote the Torah. It's his concepts, but he talks like how he rose. What are we saying? What does that mean?
The concept of the Dibri Torah Lashon Bnei Adam?
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, I hear your question. My simple understanding of it is that it's not that the Torah talks like, meaning you can't darshan every last thing. You can't darshan everything. The Torah, believe it or not, wanted to make something sound normal to us that we don't have to break our teeth to understand every last pasuk, right? And so sometimes they took it easy on us.
And then we spent 3 blot debating it?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. But that sometimes there's an opinion says it takes it easy on us. Yeah, I don't know. That's
okay. That sounds
no. That's what I understand. Not because it's just like, oh, we want to. I thought maybe not. I don't know. I thought it's just sometimes you can't darshan. I think it's what the Ikra said. You can't darshan everything. But I'm not sure if that's correct. I'm not sure if what I'm saying is correct. Right. Anyway, yeah. So so that's what we're saying. So there's that. The reason why nazir lahazir is teaching us that you could have a double nizirus. Okay. So then the Gemara asks, and according to the opinion that says that the Torah does speak like people, nazir lahazir darish, and we darshan nazir lahazir. So lasa, and I'm sorry, but nazir lahazir darish lasa. I told you the terminology is a little, it's different in the Durham. So that's why sometimes sometimes I get mixed up with where to put the commas and the period. So I apologize. Again, lamandam b'dibra Torah kalash b'nei adam v'nazir lahazir darish lasas yadas nizirus k'nizirus. Right, according to that opinion. See, in a regular Gemara, I think, in my limited knowledge of how Gemara works, this would not be a 2-sentence thing. It would just say Lamanda Amar and then explain what the other opinion says. Here, I'm not complaining. It's going more at length, but sometimes you just don't expect it. He's saying it according to the Manda Amar, right? Who says Dibra Torah Kalash B'nei Adam and V'nazir lahazir darish lasas yadas nizirus k'nizirus. Right? The Gemara just repeated the previous opinion. In other Masechtas, most of the time it doesn't repeat the other opinion. It just says and the other one, right? And then you have to figure out which one it is. So again, that opinion, Shanazirus, Chala Nazirus, Minaleh. So how does he know Nazirus that's Chala Nazirus? So the Gemara answers and says, Hanicha Israeli command Omer ain't Nazirus Chala Nazirus. Okay, so if he holds that like Aaron was bothered by, which is what a guy says he's a nazir twice, he has to keep 60 days instead of 30 days. So if you go with the opinion that says Hitaka doesn't, fine. So then that opinion can go with it. At least we like command nizirus chalal nizirus. But if he goes with the opinion that you could have a double nizirus, something nale, how do you know? So the Gemara answers, name a kra lizar. Again, a diktuk thing. The pasuk should have said nazir. It didn't have to say nazir lahazir. It could have said nazir lizar, to stay away. My lihazir shamas minotarti. That enables us to teach, to learn out two dinim. One, that you could have a nazir on top of a nazir, and the other one can teach us that if he doesn't use the full language of making a nazir, it's still a nazir. Fine. The Marava Amri, another teretz. The Marava Amri is Tana the Mafikle Liyadis min Lindar Neder. They said there is a Tana that does learn out Yadis from Lindar Neder. Is Tana the Mafikle min Kola Yotzim Pivyasa. And there's another Tana who learns it out from anything that comes out of a person's mouth, he has to keep. Right, so there's another sheet that Ataka says you don't need a hekish. If mommy wants, you know. So Amar Mar. Sorry about that. So Mar said, now we'll go back to what we said before. Amar Mar, we compared all the Nedarim to nizirus. Uma Nedarim over b'bal yachal b'bal ta'achar. So he said, just like by a neder, if you don't keep your neder, you're going to be over on not pushing, on not keeping your word, and also don't push off doing a mitzvah, right? Those are two isurim. So you have the same thing by nazir. Fine. Now, what does this mean? Bishlam b'bal yachal, the Nedarim, we understand that you don't make nedarim into you by not keeping a neder, so you're over on not making your words chulin. Mishkachas la going to amar kikra zu oicha v'lo you can have. What's the case by a neder where you're going to be over on not keeping your word? You said this loaf of bread, I'm going to eat, right? V'lo and you don't eat it. A guy makes a neder, I'm going to eat the meat by the seams. And then he decides he's not eating it. So then he's over on another. So over mishum bal yachal devarim, right? Ella bal yachal the nizirus, but not being bal yachal nizirus. One second, hechi mishkal. Let me just finish. Hechi mishkal. How do you find not to keep your word by nizirus? Kivin domer areni nazir. Once a guy says, "I am a nazir," havalei nazir. He's a nazir. Ochal, and if he eats, kamlei bebal yochal. He's going to be over on the isser of a nazir is not allowed to eat. Shasa, and if he drinks wine, he's not allowed to drink. So what is meaning again? If by nedarim, we all keep looking at nedarim like a person makes a neder, I'm not going to eat this meat. But what happens if a guy says a neder, I'm going to eat this meat, and he doesn't do it? Okay, so he didn't keep his word, right? But how's that going to work by nazir? So how would you work? So amarova lavar la b'shnayim. No, and he's going to be over on not eating that he is not allowed to eat, and he ate anyways grapes. And he's going to be over on drinking that he didn't drink, that he drank grape juice or wine. He's also going to be over on not keeping his word. So it's a third thing. What do you want to say, Gershon?
Isn't kicker zu oichel technically a shvua, not a neder?
What?
The term kicker zu oichel. I'm going to eat this kicker. That's a shvua, not a neder.
Oh, very good. Oh, the mamish. If you want to see a fascinating Rebbe Kiveger, I know it's right before Shabbos. So look to the left in the Gemara. You see the Gilyan Hashas? We said yesterday that what's a neder? A neder goes on an item, and a shvua goes on the person. When a person says, I'm going to eat this meat, is that going on the meat or is that going on the person? It's going on the person. If a guy makes a neder, I'm not going to eat this meat, so then that's going on the meat, not on the person. But if he says, I'm going to eat this meat, that's a neder. That's not a neder, that's a shvua. Rebbe Kiveger says, he asks this kasha, right? It's because a neder is answering a cheftza on you. And he says, V'Hashem yoyer einai. That's not often Rebbe Kiveger says that terminology, that Hashem should light up my eyes to understand the pshat in this Gemara. So if anybody doesn't understand the Gemara, it's all right. You have Rebbe Kiveger on your side too. But again, it's a Hashem yoyer einai. That Hashem should light up my eyes to understand exactly why the Gemara calls this.
So it's okay.
Even Reb
yes, it is okay, Aaron. Yes, it's
even
okay.
Reb Kiveger spoke in lashon b'nei adam at sometimes.
That's true. You know what? If I understand what Rebbe Kiveger is saying, but Hashem Yareni, then I'm already happy. right? But yeah. Anyway, so that's an interesting thing. That's why that's the nuances with the Dharm that we have to keep in mind. Like you have to keep it. Yeah. Anyway, so the Gemara. So that's what the Gemara says. By nazir, it's
Patrick
adding
Ewing was
terminologies.
over a lot of the Nedarim. Patrick Ewing guaranteed winning a championship year after year.
You have to bring up all these things. You have to bring these things up, right?
Who is talking?
Yeshua Marcha. And here it was. I was going to make a joke that if the World Series starting today, if the Mets are in it, we'd have Lindor in the Gemara, but it didn't work out. Okay, you thought that, Avi? Okay, sure. But now March, Yeshua's brought it up, so I'm going to say my whatever, my knowledge.
You would think Howie Rose is on the way you just threw that one.
Right. Anyways, okay, weiter. So then Gemara says, "Baal ta'achar the nizirus heichem b'shkachas." So now the Gemara is going to continue with this over the rest of this Amud and the next Amud. How do you have Baal ta'achar by nizirus? You push off being a nazir. What does that mean? You say I'm a nazir, so you're a nazir, right? How do you have that? How are you over on pushing off being a nazir? So Gemara says, Baal ta'achar the nizirus heichem b'shkachas. So how do you find that? Kim domar hareini nazir, havelei nazir. He says I'm a nazir. Avakamlei b'bal yoichel, right? But he, I'm sorry, ochal. If he eats, kamlei b'bal yoichel. Yes, then he's over on bal yoichel.
Maybe he said it on Yom Tov. He could,
No, but it would start right away. Starts right away. Yeah. But the Gemara is going to say a similar teretz in tomorrow's Daf Bez Hashem, but not Yom Tov, but like he's in the cemetery, right? How can he become a nazir in the cemetery? He's tummy already, right? So anyway, so Gemara says, how can he do it? Look at she'ertzeh nazir. Let's say he says, when I want to become a nazir, I'll become a nazir, right? So it's sort of like when I wake up my kids, like when I want to get up, I'll get up, right? Then so they're not about that. They say I'm going to get up, just not now. Right, so he's saying, I'm going to become a nazir, I'll be a nazir. So Gemara says, V'i Omar, Kishe'ertze leka bal ta'acher, is there no bal ta'acher? Right? Of course there's going to be bal ta'acher. Meaning at some point, I'm sorry, leka, I read it wrong. But Omer Kishe'ertze, maybe, if you're going to say that, and this is all part of the question, how do you have bal ta'acher by nazir? If it's Omer Likasheretz, he says that he's going to become a nazir when he wants. Likasheretz a nazir, and when I want, I'll become a nazir. Be Omer Kisheretz, Leka Baal Ta'acher. There's no Baal Ta'acher when he says I want. The guys, he never said he's being a nazir. Meaning, if he says he's a nazir today, so he becomes a nazir. Finished. If he says I'm becoming a nazir next week, so that's not called pushing it off. He didn't become a nazir till the next week. So Marava could go into Amar like iftimina oilam achiyeh nazir. He says a terminology. I'm not going to die before I become a nazir, right? So now he doesn't know when he's going to die, obviously. So the minute he shot the havelei nazir, he becomes a nazir immediately because he doesn't know when he's going to die. So when he says that type of terminology, and he doesn't become a nazir, that's called bal ta'acher. Even though he didn't say I am becoming a nazir now, he says I'm becoming a nazir before I die. Midi dahava, similar to the cases of when we had this a few times. A guy says his wife, this is your divorce. An hour before I die. So then, and he's a kohen. She's a Yisrael. She's eating truma because he's a kohen. But he says to her, "You're getting divorced an hour before I die." She's not. She has to stop eating truma. Because how does she know that he didn't die when he goes to work? And she's no longer married to him. We say that maybe we have to be choshed every single second. The person may die. Here too, when the guy says, I'm going to become a nazir before I die, he is a nazir. Maybe he's going to die right now. So that is the case that the Gemara is saying, where a person could be over and pushing off becoming a nazir. Okay, we'll stop over there. We'll continue tomorrow night. What time? 7:30? What time is it? 7:30? 7:30. All right.
Yaakov, when is Shir Shabbos?
4:30. 4:30 is mincha YFR 5:15. So if anyone wants to do anything else, then you do somebody else. All right. Good Shabbos.
Okay.
Have a good Shabbos.
Yeah. Good Shabbos, everybody.
Shabbos.
Good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos.